Hello and welcome everybody to the 10th devlog for Darkest Day, Brightest Night. This one is a little bit late. Don't worry, next one's gonna be far more delayed. So, what are we discussing today? Well, first of all, I did start on character scaling and I got a fair bit done. Got diminishing XP algorithm in place. Don't have actual scaling on the statistics themselves yet, but I've made a good amount of progress on it. But that's only a small thing of what I've been doing. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, GameMaker Studio 2.3 has entered open beta, meaning that the update will most likely come in a couple months. And the update is bringing a lot of good features that will change a lot of things, like how they work in GameMaker language. One of which is a complete revamp to scripts and functions. You'll be able, after the update, you'll be able to define functions through variables, like most coding languages do. And scripts will instead kind of be like coding libraries. You can define a lot of different functions within a single script, and then if your object runs that script, all of those functions will be created within that object. This will do a couple amazing things. Functions are the tool within programming I love most, so I'm really excited for this. This will add scoping to functions. Because previously you couldn't really use scripts as functions because they're global, and if you access the global variables from a certain object and you call the script from another object that doesn't have those variables, your entire project crashes. That won't be an issue anymore. Because of the scoping, the function will remain within the object that created it, and only that object can access it. And since they're not global, it's not going to be a massive hit on performance if you have a couple hundred functions compared to like a couple hundred scripts in the current version of GameMaker. And most of all, you won't have this script folder here cluttered with too many freaking scripts everywhere like I currently have. Because I have this because I've been recoding the entire project. You might think I'm crazy. I'm probably very crazy to do this. But I am rewriting the entire game, and everything that's going to be put in a function when the GameMaker eventually updates is going in its own script, giving it the name that the function would have when it's made in the object, and I've put it in a folder with the name of the object it belongs in. Because of the changes, large things are able to change. Like, I could make large changes to the project for the better. Like, right now I've been using the user events as custom functions. Let me grab an example here. I believe the main physics object still has some, because I've been wiping out everything from the old player object now. Right, yes. So all of these are technically my replacement for functions. Check if place visible in range. All of this code can go in a function, and then it can be called within the step event whenever it's necessary. I don't need to use these user events for them anymore after the update comes out, which is really, really great, because I'm limited to only 15 user events per object, which meant that for the player classes, since my player has 12 different attacks and then 3 other functions that it needed for other stuff, and then when it switches between like their potential version and their corrupted version, they gain 12 different attacks. But I already used all of my user events. So I solved that by creating 2 different player objects that inherited from the main player object, a PC Light and a PC Dark, and it swapped between the two whatever like you died and swapped forms. Basically destroyed the object and created an entirely new one. Not anymore. Not anymore. Know that I have access to functions, or will have access to functions, that I'm putting everything in scripts. I have actually been able to merge those two objects into a single player class. Right here. This here contains all of the code from all of my other player instances. So I create all the variables pretty nicely. And then here, card control still needs to be fixed. Movement. This is my movement code. Look how simple this is. Back in my I used to put this in my physics engine and it was like massive. This is so small now. All because I now have a function, quote unquote, basically a script that's going to be a function, called phrun, physics run. And this thing here basically allows your character to run based on a direction and an acceleration you give it. This here works for anything, not just the player, because there are no keybinds incorporated within this piece of code. That's the keybinds are incorporated within the function call itself in the player. Right. Here. This means that I can use that same function in an enemy object for like bosses or regular enemies and stuff. Which means they no longer have to separate my physics engine in two different instances, one with keybinds for the player and one without for the enemies. It's also going to be a single object that basically has no code in it. This is what I'm able to do now. There's no code within this step event compared to the massacre that I did on the original player class. Like, look at all this code. Look at it. All of this is now put within scripts and eventually going to be put within functions. It's amazing. Just these things here reduced this to nothing. And that's basically what I could do across the entire project. This also allows me to make a lot of improvements to old code, fixing a lot of issues that were originally had a issue with the fact that I actually did not have true acceleration within the project. I faked acceleration by increasing my velocity until it reached a max, which is not a true... Well, it is technically how acceleration works, but that's not really how you mathematically calculate acceleration. It's actually completely impossible to accurately calculate acceleration within a game, because acceleration is in seconds squared, while if you take delta times squared, you will get a massive offset between where your player is and where he's supposed to be, the higher your frame rate is. There are solutions for that, but none of them are 100% perfect. But yeah. So that's what I've been doing. I have currently recoded most of the physics object that works for both player and enemies now. I've recoded the entirety of the player character, with the exception of code control that was broken ever since I changed my entire physics engine, so I still need to fix that. And player attacks are in place, but I still need to adjust the names and stuff so they work without an attack handler, because I no longer need an attack handler anymore. It's amazing. Currently have a test room set up as well, just to test the new instances in. And yeah. Okay, that's a bit iffy, that health bar. But as you can see, physics are working beautifully. This is my new player object, by the way, with the new physics engine. It feels a little bit different because I had to redo the entire jumping algorithm. Functions matter. The formulas, sorry. Jumping formulas. All of these freaking terms. Anyway, feels really amazing. I've tweaked the speed a bit so that you're not too fast but not too slow either. It feels really good. Anyway, collision works just fine. I had a small problem with that after I implemented acceleration, but yeah, overall this is amazing. It's just great. So that's what I'm going to be continuing to do for the next couple of weeks. Got a bit of other work to do in between as well, some other company stuff, a couple of projects that I've been paid for to do, and aside from that, I'll just... The Trello page, yes, Trello page. Trello page is no longer up to date and will no longer be up to date until the next devlog. After I'm done with recoding the entirety of this, I will redo the entire Trello page as well, make it a lot more detailed. For now I just have like the general name with a checklist in it of what I plan to add to it roughly. I'm gonna make it a lot more detailed and improve readability and stuff on it. Yeah. That's what I'll be doing for the next couple of weeks. So, next devlog will be when all of this is remade. Oh. Should not click and drag in here randomly. Physics objects belong somewhere here. Those are terrain, right? Yeah. All of this, most of these things have very little code, so those won't take long. But like the main classes will be the hardest to recode, because those things will be reworked quite massively. Especially my controllers. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, I guess.